Hello and good day. Welcome to my friendly little podcast, Life's Easy with E. Today's episode will be about thriving in the face of CKD, thriving with the fact that you just got the diagnosis that you have kidney disease. What we're going to talk about basically is resilience, more specifically renal resilience. Okay. So we're going to title this Thriving in the Face of Chronic Kidney Disease and Building Up Renal Resilience. Okay. And again, my name is Eric Hugh, commonly known as Easy E. You may call me Eric. You may call me E. You may call me your host. And anyway, on today's broadcast, we're basically just going to jump right in. Okay. I'm not going to do a lot of things, but I'm going to take a little sidebar because, as you guys know, I do have kidney disease. I am in level 5, end stage renal disease, which means I require dialysis. And as I've showed you before, I as I've told you before, I've shown you the bandages on my arm. Get you sent it. Here's one because I'm just coming from dialysis. So if my voice sounds a little funny, sometimes it happens after dialysis. Um, Yesterday, due to my dialysis, actually not even so much due to dialysis, but due to the fact that I suffer from hypotension, which is low blood pressure. From time to time, I have to get my fistula looked at. My fistula, and again, I just showed you. It's uh, it's my port in which my blood is drawn, clean, and then put back into my body. So, and this happens 3 days a week. Yesterday, I had what is known as a fistulogram. That's where they insert a needle into your arm, and then if they need to do anything, they'll either stick a wire through, or in the case of me, they stuck a balloon in to open up some of my compressed parts of the fistula so it would flow better. I was suffering from low blood flows through my fistula. So, this was a procedure that I had yesterday. They give you a little sedation to put you out. Sometimes I'm out, sometimes I'm aware of the situation. There's been a couple times where I've been really out. So, luckily for me, I have people around me, and I'll be talking about some of this later. People around me that, if I'm in need of, they'll accompany to my appointments. In this case, the lovely Shatira accompanied me to mine and helped me out throughout the rest of the day because sometimes, especially if you've lost the capacity to urinate, it's hard to get rid of the chemical. Or in my case, the chemical really wasn't out until dialysis today. So, shout out to Shatera for helping a brother out. Yay, Shatera. And Shatera, I know you're watching. Hey. Anyways, I'll be talking about some of that support later on in this program. I also wanted to go back a week. Those of you who are watching, hopefully you watched last week's stunning episode where we had a workout regimen, specifically how me and Shatira, how we start our workout regimens, and how most people should start their workout regimens by stretching and some exercises to get the blood flowing. So there was a couple of things that I didn't get a chance to mention last week because we had some technical difficulty, things of that nature. So some of the things I wanted to mention was uh, when you're doing your when you start your physical regimen, by all means, please make sure. I think I hit this, but I still want to hit this again. Make sure that you're consulting with your healthcare provider or providers. Don't just jump into anything. It may seem easy at first, but sometimes maybe you're not as physically fit as you think you are. Maybe you have some heart problems or some other issues. So consult with your provider. But one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we understood is whether you can exercise or not, just please keep moving. And that's another thing that I'll be discussing later on. Please keep moving. Move as much as you can. I recommend walking in the beginning. Especially if you haven't done anything in a really long time. If you're able to walk, that is. If you're able to walk, I recommend that. Um, that said, if you aren't able to walk, or if you're bedridden, you can still do some things, that can get your blood flowing. Like me, I have I have two sets of weights that I'll use, hand weights, and dumbbells, just to get the blood flowing through the upper body. Uh, you can, if you don't have weights, you can go in your cupboard and grab 2 cans of tomato sauce or something like that, squeeze on it to get the blood flowing through your fistula, move your arms around up and down like this. Uh, maybe the some of the motions like what Shatira was doing with the weights. I just say all I'm saying is do this because it helps with your heart, it helps with your muscles, it helps gets the blood flowing, but more importantly, it helps with the noggin up here. Sometimes we just have stress. Chronic kidney disease is a stressful disease, so you want to do things to get yourself going. So that was just some of the things I wanted to mention, because again, the exercises, it helps your blood flow. It helps your mentality. It helps build your strength and endurance. All these things, you want to increase, especially when you're fighting a disease that robs you of so much. So, it's always good to keep yourself active. I try to be active an hour a day, every day. Some days more than others. Monday, Wednesday, Friday may only be an hour. For instance, last Monday, I walked. I actually ended up walking an hour and a half because I missed time my walk. But this was after dialysis. And of course, if you're here in South Carolina, it could be warm in the afternoons. But you just got through it. And then, like if you remember with my fluid dynamics episode, definitely be mindful of your hydration. You don't want to drink 32 ounces of Gatorade and then go for a walk. But I would recommend, I would suggest, in my opinion, it's healthy to, maybe a sip or two of water just to keep your parchness down. And then when you get back in, especially if it's hot, maybe, and I would use measuring cups, maybe an ounce or two of fluid just to keep you from going and guzzling, or even just put a couple of ice chips in your mouth. So I just wanted to point out some of that from that and or previous issues. Now, on to the meat. So today I'll be discussing, r- resilience and or renal resilience, keeping yourself keeping yourself going in the face of this daunting disease. So the, I'm going to take several topics and I'm just going to speak on them in turn so that I can correlate what I'm saying with what I'm saying. So, anyways, the first topic I'm going to be discussing is, you know, fostering a positive mindset in the face of chronic kidney disease. What I mean by that is when you when you get the diagnosis from your nephrologist, your kidney doctor, that you have chronic kidney disease, one of the first things that I know affected me was I had this feeling of doom and gloom. And then, you get a lot of misinformation from people, from the people, from the public, that this is a deadly disease, you're going to die immediately. And it can be a deadly disease if you let it be. But that said, and I'm going to be honest with you, it took me 2 years of dialysis before I really realized that I'm not going to die tomorrow. You know, um, again, I had some people in my ear, I had some things going on around me, and then I had some other personal issues going on, and so it just was one of those points where like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? But eventually I learned to cope. So the very first thing I would tell you is be mindful that this is not a death sentence. You can definitely live a good life with chronic kidney disease. You just have to know how to get, past that point. And some of the other points that I'm going to make down the road to help you with your positive mindset is I'm going to be addressing in later parts of this episode. But again, just be positive. Just because the nephrologist told you last Monday that you have chronic kidney disease don't mean that you need to go out, buy life insurance, find a plot. You can get through this. And some of the stuff that I'll be talking about is going to help you get through this. So, those are some of the things. Have a positive mindset. Know that you can return to health. Everything will be all right. But you do have to be active and be active in your approach. Okay. Another, another point I want to make is in this process to renal resilience is setting realistic goals and expectations. Now, one of the first things you got to realize when you're setting your goals is, again, yes, you have to be realistic, but you have to understand what resiliency is. Resiliency, quoting Merriam-Webster, the dictionary, is resilience is the ability and to adjust and bounce back from adversity. So what that means is that, you have a situation, it could be difficult, you have to find a way to adjust to that. Renal resilience is even more involved because you have to, once you realize that you have chronic kidney disease, you have to find ways to readjust your life, to bounce back from any sort of issues that the doctor tells you, bounce back from any setbacks that you may have, and come out of this stronger than ever. So that's what you have to keep in mind when you're setting your goals. The goals have to be realistic. If you get a chronic kidney disease diagnosis, you will not be put on the kidney list tomorrow or even that day, because it doesn't happen that way. There's several things that you have to accomplish, several goals that you have to get through. That's the reason why they call it a list. There's several things, like if you're overweight, you have to lose weight, which means you have to set realistic goals in your weight loss. If you're 100 pounds overweight, you will not lose 100 pounds in a year unless you're just really sick. Then you're not healthy. Okay. If you need to get your blood pressure under control, your primary doctor, perhaps your nephrologist, will have to experiment with several drugs to help get your blood pressure under control and then keep it stable, because the blood pressure has to be stable for quite some time. Um, you have to make sure that you're getting to your dialysis appointment. So if you're not a morning person, don't set yourself up for failure getting by getting an early morning appointment, because some dialysis clinics start taking patients as early as 5:45 in the morning, and meaning you may be on getting your treatment at 5:45 in the morning. Now, if you're known to get up at 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning, you've been doing that for the last 40 years. You should already see the problem with that. So, go for an afternoon treatment. I myself am not a morning person, so I used to get to my dialysis treatments at 12, 1, sometimes later if I was working, and it worked out for me. So again, if set a realistic goal to getting to your treatments, set a realistic goal um, after your treatments. For instance, if you've been sickly, if things have not been going for you, don't try to go to work after dialysis. Do like I do. I work on my off days, because I know some days I might feel good, some days I don't. That's a realistic expectation that you have to know. If you think or know that you want a kidney, know that you're not going to get it next week. Uh, Under most circumstances, it could be up to a year before you get a transplant. And that's if you have a living donor, because there are certain tests that have to be performed on you and on the living donor. They have to make sure that the living donor is stable. They have to make sure that you're stable. So you're not going to get a kidney. If someone, if Uncle Bob says you can have one of my kidneys, you're not going to be in the hospital next week getting that kidney. It takes some time. Another realistic goal, if you are going to go the living, the deceased donor route, which most of us would have to, that could be up to 5 years, because first of all, again, your health has to get stabilized. There's a lot of testing that has to be done. If you have low blood pressure, it has to be, conquered. If you have high blood pressure, that has to be conquered. And, just the fact that there are far more people out there than kidneys. Um, I once read that last year in the United States, and this might not be right, but there were like 15,000 available kidneys, but something to the effect of 200,000 people on dialysis. And it's probably far more than that, but I'm thinking I'm recalling that. Don't quote me on that, but I think I'm recalling that. So a diseased kidney doesn't just come up. And then from the supply, some of them have issues, some of them aren't healthy, some of them have hepatitis. So you have to set a realistic goal for that transplant. It could be anywhere from 1 to 5 years, depending on the circumstances. I'm not saying that it won't happen in a couple of months, because it can. I'm just saying it's not likely. So, one of the things to getting yourself resilient is setting and realizing goals, but again, make them realistic. Okay, so that's one of the things, on the road to resiliency. Another Another step in building your resiliency is a adequate support network. What I mean by that is you're not alone in fighting kidney disease. You have your family, which could be aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, children, extended family. You have friends who can, help you, especially if you just need somebody to talk to. Now, I do recommend if you just need somebody to talk to about the disease, I ask you to reach out to your healthcare professionals, your providers, and even people in the clinic themselves, because who knows what you're going through better than another chronic kidney disease patient? That person sitting, especially if you're in dialysis, if you're sitting next to a person who's getting dialysis to the right of you, to the left of you, that person knows exactly what you're going through. I'm not saying that you shouldn't talk to your family or your friends, but again, that person who gets cannulated 3 times a week, anywhere from 3.5 hours to 5 hours, or if they're a nocturnal dialysis, up to 8 hours, they know exactly what you're going through. So you should reach out to your surrounding family to create a very good network. Plus, if you have a good network, like me, I needed someone to accompany me to an appointment yesterday, and I had that. And then if she wasn't available, I could have asked an uncle. I could ask my children. I got a little bit of a network going on. Sometimes I make light of the fact that I don't have a network, but the fact of the matter is you need a network when you have chronic kidney disease. And let's be honest with you, no one can get through life without some sort of help. So keep that in mind when you're building your resilience. Another thing that helps you on the road to renal resilience is engaging in activities that promote overall well-being. In other words, excuse me, you want to do things like what I was referring to earlier. If you can, exercise, get yourself moving, go for a walk, if you're not walking well, a couple of steps in the house will do. If you have trouble getting up and down stairs, start with one step and then go back down and, rest. Maybe try to don't wind yourself because you got to build up to it, but try to increase your activities every day. Another thing that can promote well-being is how you tend to eat. If you've been eating pizza and burgers and fries for the last 50 years, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but I'm saying that ain't good. So, get with your dietitian in your dialysis clinic, or if you have a primary doctor and they have a dietitian, get with someone, that can help you create a renal friendly diet that might, get you back to thinking better. It's proven fact that if you eat healthy, your body will respond, but more importantly, your mind will respond too, because you're getting good nutrients, your blood's flowing correctly. You don't have certain things, weighing your mind down or slowing down your heart, things of that nature. So, I recommend healthy, eating. If you have a hobby or something that you just love to do it. Now I'm not saying you just found out about that you're going to go on dialysis to go rebuild an engine, but maybe you like to do crossword puzzles. Like I'm picking up crossword puzzles myself. I find that they help relax me. Plus, it's motivating my noodles. So I'm doing crossword puzzles. Maybe you like to do regular, the jigsaw puzzles. Do jigsaw puzzles. Maybe you like to go shopping. Just do something that you like to do, make it a hobby. And then finally, the last thing that's going to promote well-being is adequate sleep. One of the things that affects health, just period, not just chronic kidney disease, but just health, period, is we don't tend to get enough sleep. You know, um, I have a professional, a pulmonologist that recommends a minimum of 7 hours of sleep. I'm not saying that you can do that, but try your best to get a good night's sleep. Turn that TV off, turn that cell phone off. If you tend to sleep hot, find a way to cool yourself down. Prop yourself up if you have breathing problems. If you do have breathing problems, perhaps seek out a pulmonologist to get yourself a CPAP machine. I have one, and that's the best sleep I've had in 50 years. So, these are things that we can do to, get our, promote our health and just feel better. Another thing is you got to find purpose and meaning beyond the diagnosis. That actually feeds into everything I just spoke of. You know, you have chronic kidney disease. You do. Next step. Don't just let it beat you down. You know, you're not alone in this for one thing, because again, you're going to be promoting. You're going to be building your network. You're going to be eating right. You're going to be exercising. But more importantly, you're going to be finding ways to get back to your normalcy. You know, like for instance, if you had kidney disease, somebody might tell you you can't work. That's not necessarily true. Now, you may not be able to work hard, or you might not be able to work long. And maybe you're in a case, maybe you're retired, so maybe you really don't have to work, but you don't need to be sitting around the house either. Go out and walk around the community. Go volunteer. You know, spend some time with your grandchildren. You got to find purpose in your life beyond the diagnosis, because even though kidney disease can be deadly, it is not a death sentence. You had the diagnosis. The diagnosis does not have you. So, seek a higher power if that works for you. Just don't sit around and languish and wallow in this particular diagnosis, because that'll probably put you in the grave quicker than the actual disease. So, uh, you can do several things to keep yourself going. So these are some of the things that I, you know, want to let you guys know on the road to renal resilience. These are some of the things you can do and more. I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy with chronic kidney disease, and I'm letting you know some of the things that you can do to keep yourself going. I have people come up all the time and ask me questions. Like one question I've gotten a lot: how can I maintain a positive outlook while living with chronic kidney disease? Well, like I said earlier, find yourself a hobby, find yourself a something to do, chores, even chores in the house. You got a house, don't let your house fall down around you. Get your kitchen in order. Reorganize your pots and your pans. Maybe you got a little bit of a library. Put your books in alphabetical order. You know, these are just some of the things. Return to work if you can. Like I said, I work, and I honestly find joy in the job that I do. Whether maybe the job that you had was a little stressful. Maybe this is the time to go back to school, re-educate yourself, find you something that you really want to do. That can help you be positive while you're dealing with chronic kidney disease. Those are some of the effective strategies that I would, recommend. Those, set achievable goals, and when you accomplish the goal, that's going to give you a sense of satisfaction, and it's going to make you much more resilient in the face of kidney disease. Okay. Um, Build your network. Maybe you don't have the best relationship with some family members around you. So, while you're on the road to recovery, you know, take some time to speak to some aunts and uncles, nieces, nephews, things so that you can uh you can seek solace sometimes in just a good old fashioned telephone conversation. Everybody's on the internet texting and going on the Facebook and ticky tocking and all that, but pick up that phone and call somebody you haven't talked to in a while. And then when you hang up, you know, realize, wow, that felt good. So these are just some of the things that I really recommend on your road to renal resilience, because trust me, it can happen. A lot of things get in our way every day. And I see people attack with vigor when the fire stick goes out. I see people attack with vigor when the car payment, when the car is not working like it's supposed to. But then they just sit and let kidney disease destroy your minds. Attack kidney disease the same way you would attack looking for your remote when you can't find it, when you can't watch something on the fire stick. Those are just a few of the things that I recommend. So, that said, and in closing, my name is Eric Q, and I wanted to maybe recap what we're going, what we're doing here today on my little podcast. So to recap, You want to foster a positive mindset in the face of chronic kidney disease. When you get the diagnosis, the first thing we should, and again, this may take some time because Rome wasn't built in a day, but one of the things you want to make sure you know is that it's mind over matter. Okay, it is mind over matter. You want to set realistic goals and expectations. You may not get that transplant tomorrow, or you may not feel 100% better immediately, but you have to be patient. Resilience also is patience. Set realistic goals to, what you're trying to accomplish. Always remember from your history course, Rome wasn't built in a day. Another thing that's going to help, or one thing that I spoke of, we're recapping here, is build an adequate support network of family, friends, and your healthcare professionals. Use the resources that you have in your family and your friends, your care team. You know, I can be a part of your support network. You could drop me a message at Facebook. You can drop me a message at the YouTube. I post things on TikTok at Eric Q7. In fact, my workout videos are there. You can send me messages there. You can DM me. I'll be more than happy to respond. At some point, I'm going to get off my derriere and set up a proper email address. So you can email me that way. So, those are just some of the things you could do to build, your proper support network. Your friends, your family, me, Facebook. Facebook can be a support network because there are groups that target chronic kidney disease. Again, my humble little podcast is a support network and a resource for you. You are not alone. And remember, you have the disease. The disease does not have you. Engaging in activities is another thing I want to hit on before we leave here. Engaging in activities that help you with your overall well being. You want to be healthy, so be as active as possible, exercise, eat right, be healthy. These things help with your mental state, your physical state, and your emotional state. So, do what you like. Okay. And lastly, finding purpose and meaning beyond the diagnosis. This is the last and perhaps the most important path to building renal resilience. Like I've been stressing over and over again, you are not alone. You can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. It has been done. There are people out there who they live their life and they're doing good. Like I said, I like to think I'm doing good. In closing, just remember the diagnosis doesn't have you. Live your best life, okay? Do what you can. If you're diligent, if you're patient, if you practice these simple steps to renal resilience, you'll find that you'll return to very close to, if not better, than your previous life. I'm actually doing far more than I ever did. I've lost 100 and well, I lost half of my body. I went back to school to re-educate myself. I have a great job with benefits. I had none of this before 2015 when I went on dialysis. So, you know, it can be done. Is it easy? Absolutely not. But again, that's what resilience is. Uh, Bouncing back from adversity. Chronic kidney disease is adversity. Life is adversity. If the door shuts, find the key, open it, or maybe that's not the door you should have been in anyway. Look for another door. That said, and in closing, I wish you all well. I am Eric Q or Easy E. Stay healthy, stay hydrated, stay strong. Goodbye.